High up in the hills of Sodor, there was a little railway called the Mid-Sodor. It had its own fleet of little engines. One was called Stuart, one was called Falcon, and the other one was called Duke. Duke was the oldest, and the other engines called him Grandpuff. Many people know about these engines, but some engines on the railway aren't as well known. Engines like Albert, Tim, Jim, and Jennings. But one that is known, but backstory isn't. This engine looked quite like Falcon and Albert, but was painted yellow and had a special headlamp that you could see from very far away. This engine was called Proteus. He was a kind engine, and many people knew him well thanks to his lamp. He was a hard worker and was one of the hardest working engines on the railway. However, one day, in October 1930, the manager came to see Proteus. "Oh, hello, Proteus. The mine engine needs your help today." "Why, yes, of course. I'll go and help right away." So Proteus went to the mines. He met the mine engine there. "Ah, you must be Proteus." "Yes, that's me." "Shall we get started then?" "Why, yes, of course." They shunted all the trucks into a train, and it was very hard work. But at the end of the day, they finally got it finished. But when they were done, it was dark and foggy. "Be careful on your way back, Proteus. It's quite foggy right now." "Don't worry. My lamp should lead me home." So Proteus went home. His route went along an old iron bridge that he was quite familiar with. The next morning, when the engine crews came to start up the engines, all the engines were there, except for one. Proteus was nowhere to be seen. Good morning, everyone." "Falcon, Stuart, Proteus? Where's Proteus?" "Yeah, I don't know, Grandpa. He was supposed to come back yesterday." That's odd. Maybe he went to sleep somewhere else." No matter, he'll turn up." But he didn't. They searched around everywhere, but they couldn't find Proteus anywhere. Without Proteus, the railway fell into a bit of a hard time. It was alright for the most part, but the engines missed Proteus. And after the mine was flooded, thanks to a certain pumping engine, the railway had to close. Stuart and Falcon were sold to the Peel Godrich Aluminium Company, and later the Scarloy Railway. Some of the other engines were sold to private buyers. But Duke, he found no new owner. His driver and fireman treated him snugly and put him into his old shed. Years had passed. Stuart and Falcon were renamed Peter, Sam, and Sir Handel, and Duke was actually rediscovered by some explorers. And of course, Proteus was nowhere to be seen anywhere. Proteus's old story became a well-known spooky-ish story and a bit of a legendary story. People say if you found Proteus's lamp, you would gain 3 wishes. But if you asked for more wishes, well, you would have to pay up with, well, let's just say your soul. There was also another story about an engine going across an old iron bridge and then falling off out of nowhere, falling into the swamps below, never to be seen again. Many had wondered where these 2 stories had came from. On the Scarloy Railway, these stories were told quite often, but Duncan, he didn't believe any of them. The Scarloy Railway also had an iron bridge, much like the Mid-Sodor Railway. Haunted bridge. Ha! It's as tame as a pet rabbit, Duncan would often say as he passed it. But one faithful night, in November 1998, he was crossing the bridge just as normal, with some slate trucks he had to take to the standard gauge yard. As he was crossing, however, he heard a huge splash coming from the water below. What? Driver, what was that? I don't know, Duncan. He looked ahead. He thought he saw a silhouette of an engine that looked similar to Sir Handel. Sir Handel, if that's you, stop playing around, would you? But as he looked closer, it was yellow and had a big white lamp on it, staring back at him. And then he heard a loud whistle that sounded nothing like a whistle he had heard before. It's the ghost! Take me back! Take me back! Please! He rushed backwards at a high speed. He got to the sheds in the morning and told the other engines what he had seen. Some of the other engines didn't really believe him. Oh, Duncan, it was probably nothing, said Rusty. But Duke wasn't so sure. Tell me, Duncan, did the engine seem yellow? Yellow? Yes, was the paint scheme yellow? And did it have a lamp? Well, yes, it did. Oh dear. You don't think... Grandpa, are you saying that? Yes, Peter Sam. I think maybe Proteus' spirit is haunting our bridge. So it was a ghost? Said Duncan. I'm not sure. Perhaps. The next few days weren't pleasant. Duncan was too scared to work for a day, but the next day he did go to work, but he wasn't his normal self, to say the least. But by some crazy coincidence, Mr. Percival, the railway's controller, was visiting Mr. Fergus Duncan, the controller of the Arsdale Railway. He was helping him clean out his garage, which was in a bit of a mess. He found an old camera that looked to be from the 40s. Duncan, what's this camera? Oh, that belongs to my grandfather. You could take it if you like. Oh, thanks then. He decided to show the engines what was on the camera. Just as, like a little movie night. Engines? I found this old camera from Mr. Fergus Duncan. What's on it, sir? I don't know, Scarloy. I guess we'll just find out together. So, after a lot of trial and error, he got the video playing on the TV he bought specifically for events like this. And, well, this is what was on the video. It seemed to be taken at night, and someone setting up a camera on a tripod, or maybe it was a rock. It showed an engine going along an iron bridge, and the engine looked exactly like Sir Handel, but with a big lamp on its smoke box going along the bridge, but then suddenly falling over into the water below. After that, whoever was filming the camera kind of lost it and started laughing like a maniac. After the video ended, the engines were in shock So, well then, that was interesting. Oh my. Nobody knows who filmed this video, or where these two stories had came from, and how people even knew about the stories coming from this video, and how Mr. Fergus Duncan was able to find this, and who or where his grandpa is or was. That is for you to decide.